On Monday afternoon, I wrote a new piece over on the spotupshot.com called Spurs Rumors, Guerschon Yabusele, second pick, Cedric Coward, and Thomas Sorber. So I just want to give a quick preview of that piece if you'd like to check it out on the spotupshot.com. So on Yabusele, on Monday, Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype reported that the Spurs are expected to be among the teams with interest in Yabusele when free agency begins on June 30th. Yabusele is an unrestricted free agent, and I wrote in that piece about how Philly's going to have a tough time getting Yabusele to re-sign, even though they want him back, just because of some of the financial restrictions they're facing. They do have Quentin Grimes also going into restricted free agency, and they reportedly want Grimes back. Plus, they have 3 players with player options who are going to really kind of hamper their cap sheet in Kelly Oubre Jr., Andre Drummond, and Eric Gordon. And according to all the reporting, those 3 players are supposed to exercise their player options. And then I just looked at a contract example for Yabusele. The main takeaway there was that, for Yabusele, his market shouldn't take the entire non-tax mid-level exception of $14.1 million. Maybe you can get him by splitting part of that up and then signing another free agent with the second half of that money. And then I just mentioned how he'd be a good fit off the bench for the Spurs. And of course, he has that connection with Victor Wembanyama in the fact that they both led Team France last year to the silver medal in the Olympics. The next item on that in that newsletter piece was I talked about how Kevin O'Connor mentioned on his Sunday night podcast that the Spurs are listening to offers for the second pick. So KOC just mentions how teams have been having conversations with the Spurs about the second pick, but the expectation is that San Antonio will not trade the pick and they will end up drafting Dylan Harper. However, KOC did say that, one GM he spoke with said that the Spurs do want a ridiculous haul for the second pick. But again, the most likely outcome is that the Spurs keep the second pick and they draft Dylan Harper. Even Jonathan Givony of ESPN on Monday, he mentioned how the Spurs have zero interest in trading the second pick. The third item in that in that newsletter piece is on Thomas Sorber and Cedric Coward, 2 players going to be in the NBA draft here on Wednesday. So Adam Zagoria of NJ.com reported that the Spurs have interest in big man Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown. I wrote a scouting report on him over on the spotupshot.com. His last mock average on my draft board was 17.3. So again, not too far down from 14. And then also on Monday, Jonathan Givony of ESPN did mention that the Spurs are showing some interest also in a wing player, Cedric Coward of Washington State. His mock average is at 18.7, so just a few slots down from number 14. One of the draft experts I really look up to is Sam Vecini of The Athletic, and he has a kind of like a career projection model, and he noted that he can see, long-term Coward becoming like a starter or even having some all-star potential down the road in his NBA career. So again, if you want to check out that piece, it's over up on the spotupshot.com.